Alright, so today we're going over chapter 2, section 2, linear relations and functions. Linear relations and functions. So an equation such as x plus y equals 5 is called a linear equation. A linear equation has no operations other than addition, subtraction, multiplication of a variable by a constant. The variables may not be multiplied together or appear in a denominator. And a linear equation does not contain variables with exponents other than 1. The graph of the linear equation is always a line. So let's spot the difference between the linear equations and the nonlinear equations that we have at the bottom right corner. Notice how for the linear equations, we have an x and a y in almost all of them. We don't have a y in the second, but that just means that it is a vertical line. So if I were to graph this line, I'm going to get a straight line, either like this or like this. This one I'm going to get a positive line. This one I'm going to have a line that looks like that. And this one I'm going to have a line that looks that way. Now, linear equations is in the name. Line is in the word linear. If you get anything other than a line as your answer, it will be wrong. Notice how in the nonlinear equations we have a square for one of the variables, a root for one of the variables, variables together, being multiplied together. The only way you can have a variable being multiplied by something is by a constant, which is a number. Or we have a variable at the bottom of a fraction. Those are all nonlinear equations. So remember, linear equation is a line. It only has the exponent of 1. The variables are not being multiplied together. You can have two variables, but just not being multiplied together. If any of those things are not true, then you no longer have a linear equation. Also, any linear function can be written in the form f of x equals mx plus b, where m and b are real numbers. Now, you guys know this as the slope-intercept form. So we have y equals mx plus b. This is the slope-intercept form. Now, between the slope-intercept form and this form, the only difference is that they put it in a function notation with an f of x instead of a y. Remember, the m is the slope, and the b is the y-intercept. In both equations, whether it's in the function notation or in the y equals mx plus b, it's the same formula. Again, the m has to be a number, and the b has to be a number. So this one is asking, state whether each function is a linear function and write yes or no and then explain. Now this first one is a linear function, so I'm going to write yes. The explanation being the x is a factor of 1 and the x and the y are not together. For number 2, it's not a function because the x is in the bottom of the fraction. The exact same reason is true for the next one. The x is at the bottom of the fraction. Then for the g of x comma y in there, it's also not a function. So this one's no, because we have an x and a y being multiplied. So variables are being multiplied together. And then for the last one, it is a linear function. Again, the x and the y are separate, so the x and the g of x are separate. And the x is being multiplied by a number. It can be a fraction, that it's okay. So this is known as standard form, which is ax plus by is equal to c, where a, b, and c are constants. So that means there are numbers that are not 0, and the x and the y are variables. So a, b, c are non-zero numbers, and x and y are variables. So for this one, they want us to write each question in standard form and identify A, B, and C. Remember, standard form is AX plus BY is equal to C. So that's the form they want us to rewrite this. So for the first one, we already have X and B on the same side. So we're just going to add the 9 to the other side to create 3X minus 6Y is equal to 9. Our A will be the one with the X, which is 3. Our B is going to be the one with the Y, which is negative 6. And our C is going to be 9. So to solve the other one, again, you're going to have to remember the A to be positive. So I'm just going to go ahead and move the 8Y. Just to put everything on the same side, meaning the variables on the same side and the constants on the other. Now, like I mentioned, we want the A to be positive. So I'm going to multiply everything times negative 1. So this is going to become positive 310x, positive 8y equals positive 15. So now we can state each one. So our A is 3 over 10, our B is 8, and our C is 15.